The airport was a blur of noise and motion as Alina rushed through the boarding gate, her heart pounding and her breath short. Her tote bag, bulging with notebooks and charging cables, kept slipping off her shoulder. She barely acknowledged the gate agent's smile as she handed over her boarding pass, eyes scanning the boarding group number. Last to board. Again. Figures. Today had not gone as planned. Her pitch meeting that morning, something she had prepared for over 6 months, had ended in polite nods and a series of, "We'll be in touch," lines that she had heard before. Translation. Not interested. Her app idea, one that she genuinely believed in, had been dismissed in less than 15 minutes. They called it too ambitious, too niche, too optimistic. The kind of feedback that made you question not just your project, but your entire purpose. She squeezed past already seated passengers, muttering apologies as her bag brushed knees and elbows. Finally, she spotted the row. 26B, she repeated, clutching her pass. She exhaled with relief. The aisle seat was free, and the man at the window seat was already settled in, typing something quickly on a sleek tablet. He wore a navy blue blazer and wireless earbuds, the kind of person who looked too put together for a domestic flight. She slid into the seat and buckled her belt, ignoring the curious glance he gave her. She didn't feel like talking. Her throat still felt dry from the back-to-back presentations, and her stomach churned from skipping lunch. The plane filled quickly. Cabin crew moved down the aisles, checking seatbelts and instructing passengers to stow their bags. Just as Alina was adjusting her seatbelt strap, a flight attendant appeared beside her with a gentle smile. "Excuse me, ma'am, can I see your boarding pass?" Alina blinked, confused, and handed it over. "Ah," the attendant said, politely. "You're actually in seat 28F. This is 26B. Alina's face flushed. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I must have misread it." She started to rise, already fumbling for her bag when the man beside her held up a hand. "It's all right. Let her stay," he said, voice calm but firm. "I don't mind." The flight attendant hesitated only a second before nodding. "Very well, sir. We're not full today, so it's not a problem." Alina looked at him, confused but grateful. "Thank you. Really, I didn't mean to." "No worries," he said, smiling briefly. "Sometimes the best things happen by accident." That intrigued her, but she said nothing. She sat back down, pulling her tote into her lap, and took a breath. Now that the seat was officially hers, she relaxed a bit. The man returned to his tablet, but after a moment, glanced sideways at her again. "You heading home or heading out?" he asked casually. "Home, kind of. I live in Chicago, but I was here for a pitch meeting," she said, unsure why she was opening up. He closed his tablet, just enough to show he was now fully listening. "A pitch? For what?" Alina hesitated. Normally she'd hold back, but there was something open about him. "It's an app I'm developing. It's called Pulse Mind, a kind of daily check-in for emotional and mental wellness, especially for people in high-pressure careers. Helps track stress, burnout symptoms, things like that." "Interesting," he said. "Is it in development?" "I built a prototype. Took it to a few investors this week. They weren't impressed." His brow furrowed slightly. "Why not?" "They said it's too niche, that mental health apps are oversaturated, and that I'd need millions in marketing just to compete. One guy told me I should try something simpler." There was silence for a beat. Then the man let out a quiet laugh, not mocking, but thoughtful. "They always say that when they don't understand the problem," he said. Alina turned slightly in her seat, curious. "What do you do, if you don't mind me asking?" "I invest in ideas," he replied vaguely. "Mostly wellness and tech." She raised an eyebrow, smiling faintly. "So you're one of the guys who probably would have told me no, too." He gave her a look, steady, thoughtful. "Not necessarily. Depends on the founder, and the story behind the product." That made her pause. "What's your story?" he asked. She looked out the window for a moment, then back at him. "I burned out 2 years ago. Had a panic attack in the middle of a grocery store aisle. Couldn't breathe, couldn't function, and no one saw it coming, not even me." Pulse Mind started as a journal entry on how to survive that. The man nodded slowly. "That's the kind of pitch I would have remembered." Alina didn't know it yet, but she wasn't just sitting beside any investor. She was sitting next to the one who'd been looking for her. By the time the plane had leveled out and the seatbelt sign blinked off, the atmosphere between Alina and the stranger beside her had shifted from accidental awkwardness to curious connection. James, though he still hadn't offered his last name, seemed genuinely interested in Pulse's mind, and more importantly, in her. Not in a flirtatious way, but as if he were trying to understand the person behind the idea. He asked questions thoughtfully. How do users engage with it daily? What makes it different from meditation or mood tracker apps? Have you considered integrating biometric feedback, like with smartwatches or fitness bands? Each question both challenged and validated her. She hadn't expected this. Definitely not from a stranger on a plane. I've thought about biometric syncing, she replied, flipping to a page in her journal and showing him rough sketches. Like letting the app alert you if your heart rate or sleep pattern indicates stress. But that would need more funding, and I'm bootstrapping everything right now. James studied the drawing with an impressed nod. You're ahead of most early founders I meet. A lot of them talk vision but skip the groundwork. Alina blinked. Are you an investor? He hesitated just a moment, then smiled. Let's just say I've seen my share of pitches. Wait, she said, narrowing her eyes. You said you invest in wellness tech. You're not James Carter, he said, holding out his hand as if it were a casual afterthought. Her eyes widened. Carter Tech Ventures. Are you that James Carter? The one and only, he said, grinning. But for the record, I was enjoying being just James for a bit. Alina sat back in shock. Carter Tech Ventures was legendary in her world. They had backed some of the most successful digital health startups in North America, and James himself had a reputation for being both intuitive and ruthless. A visionary, a game changer, and she had just spent the last hour talking to him as if he were an ordinary seatmate. Oh my God, she whispered. I didn't recognize you. I should have known. I prefer not being recognized on flights, he said lightly. Makes it easier to think. She gave an awkward laugh. And here I was rambling about my failed pitch. James shook his head. No, you were being real. That's rare. Most people pitch me with rehearsed lines. You shared your burnout story. That says more about your product than any slide deck could. Alina was still trying to process everything when the beverage cart rolled by. They ordered coffee, and she used the brief pause to gather her thoughts. You're not just being polite, are you? She asked when the flight attendant moved on. You actually think it's a good idea? James took a sip of his coffee, set it down, and leaned in slightly. I think it's a great idea. But more importantly, I think you are someone worth investing in. Her breath caught. I've been searching, he continued, for a mental wellness platform that wasn't just a prettier meditation app. One that understands real burnout. Corporate people don't need affirmations. They need self-awareness, reminders, prevention tools. And someone like you, who's lived it, has the authenticity to build it. Alina's fingers tightened around her cup. I didn't bring a pitch deck, she said. I wasn't prepared for this. He smiled. That's what makes it perfect. Raw ideas are more honest than polished ones. Besides, napkins work just fine. He pulled a pen from his blazer and reached for a napkin from the drink tray. Show me your onboarding process. What does a user see on day one? Alina paused, then took the pen and began sketching. As they brainstormed side by side, the seat between them might as well have disappeared. Concepts turned into models, problems turned into strategies, and minutes turned into hours. They laughed over app names, discussed daily alert tones, user retention strategies, AI integrations, and color palettes that calmed the nervous system. By the time the pilot announced the descent, the napkin was covered in diagrams, and Alina's world had shifted. She'd arrived on that flight feeling defeated. Now she was landing with a partner, a plan, and something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. James folded the napkin and handed it to her. This, he said, is the start of something big.